In this lesson, we are going to create order screen. When user place an order, we are going to show the order details in this URL /order/ID of the newly created URL. In this page, we show order ID, shipping information, and a status, payment info, and a status, and the items in the order. Also, in the right panel, we show order total and order summary. To get the source code of this lesson, go to the repository and in the commit section, find video 29, create order screen, and compare your code with this. Let's get to code. Here is the plan to create order screen. Let us start by creating order screen in a screens folder. In the screens folder, right-click New File and set the file name to order screen.js. In this file, type RFC and press Tab to create a functional component. In the return part, get rid of the div. And what we're gonna do here is to check the loading. Loading is coming from the reducer. We will implement it later. If loading is true, show a loading box like what we did in previous lessons. Otherwise, if there is an error, then show a message box for the error. Otherwise, we need to create a div to show the order information like this. Save the file to format your code, and let's go for defining loading, error, and importing loading box. Let us start by importing loading box and message box from components folder. And here is the code to define a reducer and use reducer to get loading, error, and order. What I did is to define loading and error and order and the dispatch from use reducer. Import it from React and let's define the reducer. By default, loading is true, order is an empty object, and error is empty string. We already created reducer functions. It's like a function that accepts action and state. And inside that, we have action.type in a switch case. Inside the switch case, we have 3 cases for fetch request, fetch success, and fetch fail. And inside the fetch request, we set loading to true and error to empty, keep the previous state as it is. In fetch success, set loading to false and fail the order from backend in the action.payload. And in error case, we set loading to false and fail the error from action.payload. Don't forget to set the default case. It returns the current state and save the file. Good. It's time to define use effect to get the order information from backend. First of all, define use effect because we are going to send an AJAX request to backend at the beginning of rendering this component. Import use effect from React, and inside that, first of all, we need to check user info. If it's null, redirect user to the login page. We get user info from the context API. So before the use reducer define use context, it's coming from React, and import store from /store. So the user info here is coming from the React context. And the navigate is coming from use navigate. It's coming from React router DOM. Let's go to the import section and here import it. I'm going to import use params too because in the order screen, we need to get the order ID from the URL parameter. So before use navigate, get the params, and from the params, get the ID and rename it to the order ID. Save the file to format your code. And here it's time to go to the app.js to define a route for order screen. Right after place order, define order/:ID and the element that responds to this address is order screen. Press Ctrl space to import order screen from here. The next step is using order ID in the use effect. Let us start by defining an if condition here. If order.underline_id is null, it means that order does not exist. It's not equal to current order ID, then we need to fetch order. Here I'm defining fetch order function, and in the use effect, let's define the fetch order. Here is the fetch order function. Dispatch type fetch request, because we are going to show a loading message in the try catch, and send an AJAX request to this address /API/orders/ID of order. I'm using Axios, and it's coming from Axios package. Set headers, because this request should be an authorized request. So I'm passing user.token in bearer in the authorization inside headers. And after successful API response, dispatch fetch success and pass the data, I mean the order data from backend for this action and pass it to the reducer. If there is an error, show the error message and get errors coming from utils.js. Save the file, and inside the dependency array, pass all elements and variables that you use in the use effect, including order, user info, order ID, and navigate. Awesome. Let's go for the dev part. What we're gonna do in the dev part is to show the order ID in the title of tab in the browser using Helmet. So we need to import Helmet from React Helmet async press tab to import it from there. Then define a heading 1 with this class and show the order ID inside heading 1 and create a row. Inside the row, create a column. It is very similar to the place order screen. And inside the column, create a card. The first card shows the shipping information. Second card shows payment information. And if order is paid, it shows the paid at to this date. Otherwise, it shows not paid. And the last card is for order items. So right after this one, create another card. This one, it shows items in the card, and we use order.orderItems.map to render each item in a list group item. And inside that, we use row and column to put stuff next to each other in a row. Let's go for the next column. After this column, create another column with MD4. So one share of 4 will be associated to this column to show actions on this order. What we need to do here is to create a card like this. The title of this card is order summary. Inside that, create a list group. And the first item is the item's price, like this. Next one is shipping price, then tax price, and then order total. Save the file and scroll up to import card, list group, and link. At the very top, import all of them from React Bootstrap. And for the link, it's coming from the React router DOM, like this. Save the file and check the code to make sure all stuff have been imported from the packages. Front-end part is done. It's time to go to the order routes and implement the backend part. Let's duplicate this API, the create order API, and rename post to get, put .id because it's gonna respond to /API/orders/ID of order, and use is off. Inside that, get rid of all content because we are going to search in the database for this order and return it to the front end. To do that, we use order.findById function. It's a function from Mongoose on order model, And what we pass is the ID that user entered in the URL. If order exists, return it using res.send. Otherwise, set the status to error 404 and show this message as a JSON data. Save the file and make sure that you are running backend and frontend and check the results. To check the results, select the product, add to cart, proceed to checkout, continue, and click on place order. Awesome. The URL is /order/ID of newly created order. And in this screen, we have heading 1 with the order and order ID, shipping information, the status is not delivered, payment information, the method is PayPal, but it's not delivered, and the items. If we refresh the page, we get the same result. In the order summary, we have items, shipping and tax prices, and also order total. Good, we successfully implemented order screen, and in the next session, we implement PayPal payment for the created order. Let's review what we did in this lesson. In the backend side, we created an API to return the order information based on the order ID. We created a new screen named order screen, and inside that, we defined a reducer to manage the state. And inside use effect, we define fetch order function. Inside that, we send an AJAX request to get the order information from the backend. And in the return part, we show all information about the order. In the app.js, we imported the order screen and we used it in the route at this address /order/ID of screen. And here is the result. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye.